Um, Thank you very much for putting the time to join this session. My name is Margaret Kasiri. I am Director of European Operations for CRISE International, which is the largest donor sperm and egg bank in the world. My background is in embryology, so I've been an embryologist for many, many years, and I've led labs across the UK, and now working internationally with our clinics in US, Denmark, and Cyprus. And it's a pleasure to be here virtually. As I was saying earlier, would have preferred it much more had I been there, because I love the participation from the students. And usually I actually ask students to put their hands up or talk in the middle of the presentation so that it's an interactive one, we can get going. But we will do the best we can with this presentation. So, sexual health and fertility awareness. I don't know how many of you come from a medical or biology background. You don't actually need to be a medical or biology background experienced person to know about your own fertility and what can affect you. Since you're all very young, you probably think, why does it matter now? I mean, why should I care at this stage, if my eggs or sperm are fine? But wait until the end of the presentation, and I think this is the aim, and I hope that we have a different kind of view at the end of this presentation when we speak. Just to start, I don't know if there is a possibility that we can get our hands up in this way, but let's see. Okay, it's very interesting to have people have different kind of understandings about our life in general, whether we are a woman or a man. But how many of you would say that you wanted to marry early, stay home, and have babies? And how many of you would, you can think in your own head, which statement actually makes more sense to you? And how many of you would think pursue careers, marry late, before motherhood? We're living in a day and age where it's so important for us to have a career. We work so hard. It's such a competitive market out there to get jobs. Why should you give it up now? Why should you stay home and have babies early? I don't know if this presentation can be done, but the statements would have come on one by one, but I think maybe that's not a possibility here. But in any case, have a think to yourself on that statement. There is no right or wrong about it. So sometimes when I actually do seminars, I used to get one or two of the boys put their hand up and say, marry early, stay home, and have babies. And the running joke was that those guys are not going to get the girls in those rooms at all, because with that kind of mentality, they are not, they were sitting in the middle of a university seminar with many women trying to do their best for their careers and have good jobs. However, none of these statements are wrong. They are just a personal choice that sometimes become a personal dilemma. Why? Because we are always thinking that, I want to achieve the best in my life without having regrets. But do we know how to go about achieving the best in our life and what precautions we may have to take? Just to give you an idea about what is happening in the fertility world and why in most countries in the world we're seeing a decline in the fertility rate. This is probably the reason why, because a third of couples that are actually, the woman is above the age of 35, end up having some issues with fertility, okay? Doesn't mean they become infertile. They end up having some issues with fertility. 2/3 of couples that are actually over 40, okay, then they also will show some kind of signs of fertility issues and may need fertility treatment. And to your surprise, maybe, and to many people's surprise, fertility is not female-related only, and men also with their age, their fertility does decline. We hear about biological bomb or biological clock going off for women, but this is actually the case for men in a milder version, and I will go through it later. So maybe it's time that we freeze our age, our fertility, our gametes, as we call them, which is a sperm and egg. Let's see what we can say about that. So, what are the factors that are influencing the female fertility? Well, age is certainly, as is well spoken, we all know as we get older, it gets more difficult for us to get pregnant. But what other things actually impact us along the way and can actually lead to earlier fertility issues in life? You probably have heard that some women that are overweight or underweight may have issues with their periods not coming on time or coming on too often. You may have also heard in the news that the smoking is not good for you for various reasons, certainly not good for you when you are pregnant. But how about before pregnancy? How about what the smoking does to your eggs? Well, now we know, with many research coming out, that smoking can directly impact the quality of the eggs you have. And if the quality of your eggs for a very prolonged period of time are impacted, then it could lead to infertility in the future or having difficulty getting pregnant. Also, stress. I mean, many of you go through exams, and sometimes you realize that when you've got that pressure on you, when life is getting difficult and everything is getting on top of you, you're getting stressed. But that period keeps coming late or happens 2 or 3 times per month, or just prolonged period for many days. And you're wondering what's happening to your body. Well, stress does impact your body. The hormones that are produced as a result of the stress in your body can impact the level and the balance of your female hormones. So stress does impact your body. And so does this picture you see of the sad face up here, so does sexually transmitted diseases. Diseases that can be, or infections that can cause a problem for us, and some of them, unfortunately, are silent infections, which means you see no symptoms with this infection. So let's move on and see what we think of the men. So if a man leads a healthy lifestyle, would you have thought that he has healthy sperm? Generally, that is the preconception about this, that when men are leading a healthy lifestyle, by that means exercising, working hard, sitting down with a laptop the whole time, successful people at work, that is an indication of a successful man. Does a successful man necessarily mean that they have a healthy sperm? Well, you may have to think about that twice, because if you are a man and exercise is very good for both women and men, and part of getting your fertility working well is to have healthy amount of exercise in your life, in your daily routine. However, we know that men that excessively exercise can actually impact the sperm. For example, before you all panic, if you're a marathon runner, if you do cycling for very, very long hours every day, the dilemma that you will face is that you are heating up your testicles, and the sperm that is sitting inside the testicles that need to be 2 degrees lower temperature than your actual body are being heated up for a long time. And we know excessive heat can actually damage the sperm. The good news is it's temporary. So if you pay attention to these, then you can get the quality of the sperm back and have a healthier sperm. Same works for men that sit down and put laptops for long hours on their laps, for example. They can heat up the area that needs to keep the cool sperm. Men who go to saunas and spend long hours in this long time in the saunas or long hours in the hot tub, they can actually heat up the testicles and damage the sperm. So the message here is that we need to be careful about how we have our life activities in a way that we can protect the future of our fertility. So, just a few facts about male infertility. Infertility is, as I said, not just about the female. Nearly half of diagnosed cases with infertility with couples that are not fertile is due to reasons that is male-related, and men are not obviously immune to the stress factors either, and I will go through it. There are many social risk factors that we already touched on with regards to women also impact the quality and the quantity of the sperm they produce. As I said, aging doesn't just affect women. Men's sperm increase in quality and quantity as they get older. So what are the risk factors? Just like women, the risk factors are, unhealthy lifestyle, drinking, smoking, also recreational drugs. There is a saying that drinking too much coffee can impact both male and female fertility, not hugely, but to some extent. But for men also, work, where they work, can actually have an impact on what they do. If you are a baker and spend hours in front of very hot ovens, it can heat up the testicles and have the same impact as, for example, long hours of cycling or marathon can do, or even horse riding, because of the mechanical impact it has on the testicles. Also, if you're a man and working in an environment where you're exposed to a lot of pollution or a lot of fume or a huge amount of chemicals, those can impact. As you inhale these poisonous substances, they can impact the level of the sperm production and mostly the quality of the sperm. So it is very important that you are aware of these hazards that can impact your infertility, and you do take precautions about this. Your sexual health is very, very important. As I said, some of the infections that impact you are unfortunately silent infections, which means you will not know you will have them. And that's the reason why it's so important that you protect yourself from getting these infections. Luckily, quite a few of them do clear off with treatment, and once they have cleared and they are no longer in your body, then your fertility potential goes back to normal. However, if they have been there for a long time and have gone unnoticed, they may do some permanent damage. One example is chlamydia and gonorrhea. We call it silent infection because for women, you hardly ever get symptoms with these infections. And actually, they contribute towards a huge amount of fertility issues that we see with women coming to our clinics. They can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, and it's actually quite often and easy to catch. 10 to 15% of women who get the chlamydia develop PID. And there is a huge number stated in US and UK of women that have actually been tested positive for chlamydia and gonorrhea, and it's easily passed between the partners from male to female. What happens if you get PID? Well, it can damage your fallopian tubes, the tubes that bring your eggs down from your ovaries to your womb or uterus, where the actual embryo when it's born needs to position itself and cause pregnancy. These kind of STDs, chlamydia and gonorrhea, can also affect men as well. They can affect the epididymis, or the urethra, where the sperm travels through in order to leave the body. If these tubes, whether a female or male, get blocked or get damaged, it can cause infertility. It's very easy to treat it. If you get yourself a screen, if you have had unprotected intercourse, and you're suspecting you may have the infection, you can have it checked very easily with simple urine test, and you can get it treated before it gets chronic and before it causes damage to the body. Another infection, which we thought that is a thing of the past and it's not happening very often these days, but it is on the rise, unfortunately, is syphilis. In men, again, it can cause damage to the epididymis. It can cause erectile dysfunction. And in women, it can cause miscarriage and also the risk of it being passed on to your child if you get pregnant. We have HIV, we have herpes, we have hepatitis B. All of these are sexually transmitted diseases. Now, they can impact the fertility as well. Unfortunately, of course, HIV has some serious consequences on the other organs as well and other parts of the body, in particular causes immune deficiency. But also with regards to your fertility, it can make the fertility and your potential to have a baby harder. And the fact that there is a high risk of transmission of this particular virus to your child if you get pregnant or if your partner has it in his sperm. We also have herpes. Herpes is also another common virus, and it can be associated in some research that is showing that it can be associated with reduced sperm count. But if you're a female and you have herpes, it can complicate the pregnancy and birth because it can be passed on from the mother to the baby, especially during birth. And we have hepatitis B, one of the many hepatitis before A, B, C. And it's very important to realize that it's actually one of the easiest viruses to catch through sexual intercourse. And it can cause the infertility rate to go up as a result of having this infection. And it can go, why? Because it can lower the sperm count and the motility. So you can see now from what I've tried to say here, I'm not trying to scare you off, and without sounding and painting a grim picture, you can see how these infections, some of them very treatable, can actually cause a long-term damage and reduce the potential of the fertility in the future whenever you decide to have a child. You may think to yourself, I'm quite young, why should I worry about this? But sometimes it can get too late by the time you decide to actually have a child if you are not aware of what can happen. So just to give you a bit of information about infertility in general, infertility refers to the ability of any couple to conceive and have a pregnancy within 12 months of trying with unprotected intercourse. If you're above the age of, if you're female and above the age of 35, if you have tried for 6 months without success, then you should definitely refer to your doctor as soon as possible, because as a woman's age gets higher and we get older, naturally our ability to get pregnant goes down, and this downward move can actually be a very sharp steep line, and I will show it to you later. Unfortunately, according to WHO, infertility is on the rise and is now impacting approximately 10% of the population. And that is a large number when you think about it. 10% of the population that are ready to have a child can be impacted by this. In UK, they have estimated it's 1 in 6 couples. So imagine how many couples being all around you. At least one of them would be impacted by some kind of fertility issue. And the third of these couples, unfortunately, the infertility is unexplained. We don't know why. With all the research and the advances in medicine, we still don't know why a third of couples cannot get pregnant, because we do all the tests on them, and we still don't find the underlying reason. We know a third is female related, a third is male related, and some combination of the two may be causing this third of unexplained infertility. What are the diagnoses for infertility? You can see a number of diagnoses here. For example, we've got tubal factor, 13.8%, and a lot of that is related to the fact that that silent infection has been sitting there and is slowly damaging the tubes and blocking the tubes. The tubal factor can be a major cause. And then you've got problems with ovulation, problems with the ovarian reserve, and endometriosis, male factor, and so on. So you see, in accordance with what we've been saying earlier, there is a number of factors that can impact you. And sometimes it's not one factor, it can be multiple factors of both female and male. So, how does infertility and age work in a woman? What does it do to our eggs? As you can see in this chart, unfortunately, the abnormal rate of oocytes or eggs increases with our age. Why is that? Because we women are born with the eggs we have. We're not like men. We don't continuously produce eggs like they continue to produce sperm. We are born with the eggs we have. And by the time we get to puberty, we lose a huge amount of the reservoir that we have. Every month from puberty to menopause, every month we ovulate. We produce one egg, but in actual fact, the eggs that are sitting in what we call follicles, we lose almost 1,000 of those follicles. They go to waste. Our body is not very efficient in a way. So we lose almost 1,000 immature eggs, and only one gets matured every month. So from few 100,000 when we start in puberty, by the time we reach the age of 35, we have lost quite a lot of reservoir of our ovaries. And from there on, there is a reduction in what we've got left in our ovaries to produce in the coming years. On top of that, because these eggs are cells in our body, like any other cells in our body, they age. So as you get older, the cells that are called eggs will get older. And when they get older, what happens is they become abnormal. The chromosome constitution inside those eggs gets abnormal. So here you see that at the age of 34, you have 40% of your eggs having some kind of abnormality regarding their chromosomes. By the age of 45, this is above 70%. So as you get older, these eggs are getting less, and they are getting also lower in quality, meaning that their chromosome becomes abnormal. That's probably why you would see that many women that are above the age of 40 struggle, not only struggle to get pregnant, if they get pregnant, then they may lose the child to miscarriage, because it increases the risk of abnormality in the embryo because the egg was abnormal. So, this is with regards to the quality of the embryos. So, what happens to our embryos? Embryo is when the sperm and egg come together, they form the embryo, and when it implants in the uterus, in the wall of the uterus or the womb. Now, you see here the aneuploidy or abnormality rate of the embryos goes up as we age, and the implantation rate goes down as we age. Why? Because our body is in a way clever, because it notices that the embryo is abnormal and tries to get rid of it, or tries not to allow it to implant in your uterus, because it knows it will lead to either miscarriage, or it will lead to having a higher risk of abnormal child. Okay? The disabled children we see in the world apparently is only 2% of what could have been. 98% of abnormal pregnancies are actually lost because our body picks it up and notices something is not normal within the first 3 months of the pregnancy. That's why the first 3 months of the pregnancy is so important. And they say if you get through that 3 months, then you have a good chance for the baby to be healthy and to stay. Because within the first 3 months, our body, our defense system, notices something is not right. And 98% of the miscarriages in the first 3 months can be related to chromosome abnormality or some kind of abnormality in the embryo. So, don't want to worry you, but want to make sure you're aware of how our body works with regards to fertility and why this is on a rise, and why awareness of it can help us all in the future, help you that are in the generation that can still protect yourself. So we have seen in the last two graphs how the impact is, and this is just another graph to show you that how the miscarriage rate also goes on as we age because of those abnormal embryos that the body notices. Now, what has happened in the infertility field? So forever, there's been the issues with us being able to get pregnant. We have miscarriages. We have issues that we refer to the doctor. But in the last 42 years, over 40 years, there has been a revolution in treating couples that have got infertility issues. Where in the past, before IVF came along, perhaps couples had no other choice but to accept that they cannot get pregnant. But since the birth of Louise Brown, who you see in these photos, 42 years ago, the first IVF baby who was born as a result of years of hard work and research by the doctor. And if you read the story, there were simultaneous research going on in different countries in the world at that time, trying to get the first baby that was created in a lab to be born. Well, Louise Brown was the one, and was the joy to be filled by being born, because there was a revolution, a breakthrough after years of research that we managed to create a human life in the lab. And this beautiful lady here, and I couldn't help putting my own photo with her as well, just to say I know. She has really changed the life of many people who could not have children and had a dream of having a child. And the life of many scientists like me who dreamt as a child to go and help with people who have. And I have personal experience of having a favorite uncle who never had a child, and he's now too old, and his wife, to do anything about it. So we all probably know someone that is struggling as a couple, or has given up and thought, you know what, there is no way I can make it through. A few takeaways from what we have discussed. What we've said so far about how important your body is, that temple that you need to protect for the future. Infertility is a disease, and unfortunately many countries fail to acknowledge that infertility is a disease, and therefore the right help is not provided for the couples to seek help and get that. But according to WHO, who recognize infertility as a disease, we must be able to deal with it. Part of dealing with the disease is the prevention of the disease. And the prevention starts from early on, from when you are even a teenager. Prevention of developing the disease of infertility. So don't wait until you're ready to have a child to think about having a child in the future. Think about your fertility now, because what you do now will impact what you do in 10, 15 years time that maybe you're ready to have a child. Know what can affect the ability of you to get pregnant and your partner. So it's male and female. And try to avoid the risk factors that can cause infertility. If you make a smart decision about your future now, hopefully you will not have to go through the struggle that many couples we know in the world are going through. That's why prevention is better than the treatment. The good news is the treatment is available, but not everybody is successful at IVF, unfortunately. Many people try IVF many times, but they fail. And when they fail, there is another safety net for them. And that's when they can use donation. So they can use either sperm that has been donated by another man or egg that has been donated by another woman. And I would like to take you the next few slides and spend a little time on the donation process. So if all things fail and you cannot get pregnant with your own egg and sperm, donation is an effective treatment that helps many struggling couples. With the donation, at least the intended parents can keep half of the genetic link to the child. So if you're a woman that is above the age of 40 and you have no eggs left, or the eggs have a very abnormal constitution of chromosome, and therefore you're not getting pregnant with those eggs. If you receive eggs that have been donated from a younger lady, then it is possible to achieve a pregnancy, and at least 50% of that child, which is the partner from your partner's sperm, is genetically linked to you. The intended parents, those that are struggling with getting pregnant, can experience pregnancy and birth. So even though the eggs come from the donor, the embryo is created in the lab and put back inside the intended parents, the intended mother, who can then experience pregnancy, full pregnancy, and give birth and breastfeed the child. The reasons for gamete donation are medical issues, for example, as we spoke earlier, with either poor or no egg or sperm left. It can be genetic disorders, so some people genetically have issues that they do not either produce egg or sperm, or produce very poor quality egg or sperm, or they are at high risk of passing the genetic disease to their child. And in order to have a healthy child that doesn't have the same genetic disease, you can use donation from other people. There's also social reasons. So, for example, in same-sex couples, single men or women, and also for women that have left it so late to get pregnant. The medical and legal and psychological preparation is needed for both the donor and also the intended parents, for donor to be ready to donate and for the intended parents to be able to accept the donation. Some countries allow non-donation from family and friends. So it can be your sister that donates her egg, or it can be a brother that donates the sperm. But some countries don't allow it. Some countries allow anonymous donation, like Cyprus. Donation in Cyprus is legal and is anonymous. So the child will never know who the donated female or male was. The donation came from whom. And the donor will never know who the child is. But some countries allow non-anonymous donations. That means that the child at the age of 18 can write to the regulatory body in that country, for example, the Ministry of Health or a regulatory committee that has been set up for IVF, and say, I am a donor child and I would like to contact my donor. And then if the donor is happy to meet the child, they can meet each other after the child is 18. So this, of course, depends if the parents ever tell the child that it's from a donation or not, but that's a personal choice. So the donation in many countries in the world is legal. In some countries, it is not legal. In some countries, sperm is legal and egg is illegal. But in general, we have had donation going on since 1983, and it's been very, very successful in assisting the dream of many couples come true. Those that had reached the end of the road and could not possibly get pregnant and have the dream of having a child come true, they have managed to do it with donation. So this brings me back to who are we? CRY was established 2 years ago in Cyprus. And I'll give you a little background about us. CRY International is the largest sperm and egg bank in the world. Even though we established 2 years ago in Cyprus, we've actually been around for over 32 years now. We are the largest sperm and egg bank in the world. We have over 1,000 donors available for patients to choose worldwide. We ship our egg and sperm to over 100 countries around the world. Our mother company started, our mother bank started in Denmark and spread across Denmark. Then we had US, and then when we were looking for a second location in Europe, which was Cyprus, because Cyprus has a fantastic infrastructure with IVF clinics that treat many patients, not only in Cyprus, but also from abroad. And Cyprus is in a bridge between the East and the West and can bring many patients to the country. So we established here 2 years ago. We've got the highest reported pregnancies in the world from our egg and sperm donors, who we are forever thankful for their kind gesture. And we have a free access online for all the intended parents to use. What is our vision? Our vision is to help as many people as we can who are childless and who want to realize the dream of having a child. How we do it is by providing the highest quality sperm and egg. And we don't care about where they come from, what ethnicity, what religion, what nationality, and so on. We treat all patients. What is the donor motivation? We did a huge research on all the donors that we have had, on majority of the donors we've had. And the result of our research was that our donors mostly donated due to an altruistic action, because donation is a gift of life. And the donors that we have do believe that this is an altruistic action, and we believe they do as well, because it does take commitment to do this. They would have to come for a number of times to the clinic to produce a sample of sperm or to get ready to produce eggs. Often they know someone that has had fertility issues in the past. Of course, we are allowed in Cyprus and all the other European countries to compensate the donors, and we compensate them for their time and effort. The benefit for the donors is, as I go in the next slide, you will see, there is a huge amount of screening we do. So there is a health benefit that they get regularly checked for their various checks of their health, both physically and mentally. So that's a huge benefit to our donors as well. Very quickly, I know the time is ticking, so I will try and speed it up. We have our sperm donors. Who are they? They are usually men between the age of 18 to 45. They are healthy psychologically and physically. More than 50% of them are in relationship already. More than 50% of them are in higher education, and the other 50% is actually in full-time jobs. And we find that 50% of our sperm donors are actually blood donors. So you can see this culture of donation exists within them, the feeling that they want to help other people, whether it's through their sperm or their blood donation. What do we do? Well, with the sperm donors, we do a huge amount of screening to make sure that they are healthy, because this sperm will be provided to other couples. So we are extremely selective in assessing our potential sperm donors. 5 to 10% of them only make it all the way through to donation, so that others unfortunately get rejected. It's a very quick process. You fill in an online application. We test your sperm to make sure it's healthy. So this has a benefit for the sperm donors as well. And once we've done the physical and the health evaluation and the clinical examination to make sure you are fine and healthy yourself, then we approve the donor. We regularly check for infectious diseases through the whole donation process. So this is another benefit they have for the donors, so they can get tested quite often. Who are the egg donors? Where our egg donors are, again, healthy young ladies, healthy physically and psychologically. We provide the full psychological support for our donors, so they see a counselor to make sure that they are happy that they're donating and what it means to donate. Our young women are between the ages of 18 to 30. Most of them are in higher education, and they must meet the physical requirement of what we call BMI, which is your body mass index. So you need to be in a healthy weight because as I said earlier, overweight or underweight can impact the quality of your eggs. And our conversion rate is actually 4%, which means that out of 100 applications we get, only 4 of them make it all the way through. So we are quite strict with who we choose as the donors, so that we know we're providing top quality egg and sperm. The way we screen our ladies is that we check their hormones. There's a hormone called AMH, which in combination with the follicle count, antral follicle count, gives us the look inside your ovary, which means we can tell how much egg reservoir you have. This is very beneficial because even if you don't get selected for the program and you know you've got low reservoir left, egg reservoir left in your ovaries, you can always opt to freeze them at this point of time if you're not ready to have a child. So you can then, instead of donating, actually think about freezing your eggs, which luckily in Cyprus, and this is an amazing thing that the government in Cyprus has done, which is to offer women up to 4 cycles of either freezing their eggs or having subsequent treatment in the future. This is unheard of. I've not seen this in any other country that I know, that their government offers the female, and it only came into effect this year in 2020. From April, this bill was passed in the parliament that women can freeze their eggs in order to protect their fertility for the future. And we, as a bank that is expert in freezing eggs and sperm, we are offering this service as well. So if we find that your ovaries are low in reservoir of eggs, and you may only be 21 or 24 or 25 years old and still have a low reservoir, for whatever reason, that we can decide and check further on to see what the causes are. But if you have a low reservoir, then instead of putting you through the donation program, you can actually go through the egg freezing program. We will check the donors for physical examination, make sure that the ovaries and the uterus are healthy. We check for infectious diseases that we talked earlier and many more. We look at the family history. We look at the risk factors. Are you a smoker? How long have you been a smoker? How long are you smoking for? And help you to see if you can stop in the process so no further damage is done to your egg. We look at the karyotype, which is the chromosome constitution of your body. Some people are normal themselves, but they have slight variation in the constitution of their chromosome, which can cause them to have infertility in the future. We look at generally the hormones, the blood type, and as I said, we provide an experienced expert counselor who can discuss the donation pros and cons for you. And also we do a genetic test, which means that we can find out if there's any issues with the donor's genetics as well. So this brings me to the end of my talk. Just to finish off by saying gamete donation is a gift of life. It's helped thousands and thousands of couples on a yearly basis. We estimate many thousands get treated and have a child every year as a result of donation. At Cryos, we looked at our statistics a few years ago, and we were actually above 60,000 healthy children that were born from just our bank. And we hope that we can spread the word out there, the culture of donation. It's very important that we think about those eggs that get lost every month. We lose about 1,000 follicles. When you donate your eggs, you only donate about 20 of those. It's not going to impact the fertility, your fertility potential in the future. So out of 1,000 you lose every month, you may donate just 20 of those. But that 20 can help a few couples to achieve the dream of their life. If you have any questions, I'm now available to answer them. And I'm so pleased that majority of the students have stayed on for the long presentation.
Thank you so much for this very informative presentation. Actually, I had a few questions myself, but you answered all of them and even more. So yes, let's give the floor to the students. Actually, we have a question in the chat. Let's read that one. And then, guys, those ones who stayed with us, please do let us know whether you have any questions, and Mrs. Kasiri will be more than happy to answer. So the question we have is that does the combined pill affect fertility or detection of issues in fertility in females? Since the pill may ask and they mask any abnormalities with the individual may have with their menstrual cycle.
Is there, sorry, your voice kept breaking up, I didn't hear. Can I read this question somewhere?
Yes, of course. It's on the chat. If you press the speech bubble,
okay, the chat.
On your right, the chat, yes. If you press that.
I can see it now, yes. Okay. Does the combined pill affect fertility or detection of issues in the female, since the pill may mask abnormalities with individuals here? Okay, so it's important to understand how the pill works. So the pill is telling your body that you shouldn't be producing eggs to get pregnant. Okay, in a way, some pills actually tell your body you're pregnant, so stop producing eggs. And therefore, they have an impact on the hormone levels. Now, funny enough, some pills actually help with some of the underlying infertility issues. For example, if you are a PCOS, which means you've got lots of cysts in your ovaries, the pill can actually regulate your hormones and assist in masking, or not masking, but treating the symptoms of PCOS for you. And as a result, some people that actually are on the pill and they have PCOS, because their hormone levels become normal, the contraceptive pill actually doesn't work in protecting their pregnancy because it makes it normal. It actually can make you more fertile and get pregnant while on the pill. So that's something to be aware of, and speak to your gynecologist about it. But being on a long term, a lot of questions are asked, being long term on a pill can impact your pregnancy. We say it's good, I mean, not me personally, but the doctors are research and showing that it is good to take regular breaks from them, to let your body to actually get back its normal hormone levels before you go on them again. But at the same time, some research is showing that women have been on them for 10 years. Okay, it has taken some time after they come off the pill for their hormones to actually go to normal. But it has not really caused infertility. But if you are on the pill and your hormones are being regulated by the pill, yes, it can mask the underlying issue that you may have with your period. Some women find that taking the pill and regulating their periods, especially those that had problems with the regular periods previously, can actually benefit from it because the body somehow kicks into the system of having more regular periods. And this whole process has been seen over and over again, especially in teenage girls, towards the end of the teenage years, that you may have experienced some kind of problems with the menstruation. Okay, so On what age can we donate? You can donate from the age of 18 to the age of 32. So any time between that period, you meet the criteria. For our bank is 32. Some other banks may offer up to the age of 35, but because we provide very high quality eggs, we make sure that we stop at 32. So that's the answer to that question. Thank you for the informative presentation. Thank you for listening. How often should the break be taken? That is a question for the gynecologist. It's not a standard thing for across the board for every female body is very different. Some women may be told by their gynecologist they don't need to take break at all, but some may need to because they've had some underlying issues previously that was causing. Some women actually experience some symptoms being on the pill and may have to change the pill or may have to take a break and give their body a break. That is something that is very individual and it must be decided by a medical doctor and your gynecologist to do that. So by all means, feel free to contact the gynecologist if you've been for a long time on the pill. Should the pill be prescribed or can we just buy it ourselves? Good question. Usually pills are prescribed by doctors. I don't know how it is in Cyprus, but it's always best to have a checkup with the doctor before you start on the pill. Some pills may cause symptoms of giving headache. Some pills can maybe have symptoms of making you feel down and depressed. So it is always the also blood pressure wise, you may want to get a checkup to make sure that this is not impacted. It's always best because these are hormones and therefore they will impact the balance of the hormones in your body. So it's always a good idea to have a checkup before you actually start on the pill and get the doctor to prescribe it as well. If you want to donate eggs, does a history of ovarian cyst impact you? If the cyst is large and is impacting the ovaries, then it may be that you may have to get the cyst drained before you can go through the process. That's why we provide all our donors, egg donors get to see a gynecologist and have a full checkup so that we do a scan on their ovaries, on their uterus to make sure everything is healthy and okay. Because the well-being of our donors are the utmost important thing for us. If we look after and really take care of our donors, they would always like to come back and donate because they've had a good journey. And if we cannot provide that safe environment and the care that they provide, then obviously our donors end up with a very bad experience and they will not be very good ambassadors about talking about donation. And also they are doing such a kind gesture and it's very important that they are appreciated for what they are doing. So yes, I mean we get them checked. If the cyst has been there for a long time, if it's of a size that can be drained, we will drain it. If not, sometimes it can actually be sorted with some kind of medication. We have in-house gynecologists that are experts with fertility issues and donation, and therefore they know exactly how to deal with it. Okay.
We have another question that it was sent to us. It wasn't sent to everyone. As young people, what can we do to reduce infertility?
If you go through the presentation and that I've discussed, all the social lifestyle changes that you can make can really, really help you in the future. If you manage to keep your weight within the right BMI for your height and your weight, you reduce the risk of impact of being overweight and underweight, which can affect the hormone levels in your body. If you are smoking, please stop. It can cause damage to the eggs long term. Unfortunately, damage to the eggs, if they are damaged beyond a point, then it becomes irreparable. But if you stop as early as you can and you take vitamins, you eat healthy food, you increase the antioxidants in your body, it can get rid of the pollution and the poison that, drinking too much, smoking too much can cause for your ovaries. And also if you're a man, the same thing. The good thing is that for men it's more reversible because they continuously are producing the sperm. So if the previous sperms they have produced have been damaged as a result of bad lifestyle, whether it was because of drugs, because of drinking, because of the smoking, or even excessive exercise, then once they stop, within 3 to 6 months, we see a considerable, improvement in the quality and the quantity of their sperm. So really a healthy lifestyle, what you do, it not only impacts other organs in your body and helps you with the other organs in your body, but in particular with the safety and the health of your egg and sperm. It's very, very important. Avoiding getting STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, or if you do get them treated very quickly. Chlamydia and gonorrhea can be easily, by just taking some medication, be treated and not cause the permanent damage that they can cause if they become chronic. Thank you for the interesting presentation. Could you give us a rough idea of how much it costs to have an anthropolytic account, how much it costs to freeze eggs? By all means, please contact the details that is on the slide and the phone number that we can provide later on. I am not so much involved on the cost levels, but it's not huge. But also, if you are coming for the program of the nation, all this is free of charge for you. The freezing of your eggs, the government provides a budget. And you can use that budget at the sorry, I think I lost you there. Government provides a budget, and that budget can actually help you towards paying the cost of freezing. But this is only available to the Cypriot residents. So if you're non-Cypriot, then you must be Cypriot in order to get this help from the government. So I don't know what the situation is with non-Cypriot, but please contact the bank and we will help you as much as we can. Should we do fertility checkup before trying to stay pregnant, both men and women? Yes, it can be a good idea to have a full checkup. We call it sometimes fertility MOT. You can get a checkup with the fertility clinic, with a gynecologist. You can have the sperm analyzed. It's very easy to get that analysis done. And you can also do a hormone check and also a scan to make sure everything is fine. Okay, does past sexual violence affect fertility, including any STIs that may be transmitted? Excluding. Okay, so I assume sexual violence means that of course there has been some trauma that has been impacted to your organs, to your reproductive organs. If the damage or the trauma was significant, then it must be checked to see what it is. I mean, did surgery was required? Or was it something that healed over time? Necessarily not kind of violences that you may have internal bruising will cause infertility. But if it's something that ended up with you needing to have some kind of operations or interference with the medical techniques, then you need to have that checked by the gynecologist. Hopefully not, majority of those. And it's sad to hear that these things happen, but unfortunately, it's best to have it checked anyway. Okay, any more questions? I'm so glad we've had such an interactive discussion and to see the questions here. Really pleased about it. If you do donate, can you request not knowing the family? For example, the egg goes to a family in a country where it's legal to reveal the identity. If you donate, you need to first of all sign some legal documents, and the legal documents you state in those documents that whether you want to be anonymous or non-anonymous. If you want to be anonymous, then by no means your identity would be revealed. Okay, just be very careful in, never, if you want to be an anonymous donor, not to provide your DNA on these DNA websites, for example, 23andMe or this genetic heritage website. If you do not do that, then it's not possible to trace you, and you will remain anonymous. And donation in Cyprus is anonymous anyway, but outside Cyprus, it is possible to donate non-anonymously. So yes, you can keep your identity protected, and the bank is very secure in that situation, because we actually never use our donors' real names. We only use a given code, and we have all precautions in place that the donors are staying anonymous. Donation is possible but not secret. Anyone can donate. It doesn't matter what which race you are from, what nationality, what religion, where you come from, but anyone can donate. It's like donating blood. There is no restriction on it at all. Okay, any more?
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, I would like to thank you very much about the information and the presentation. And I am also amazed that students are very interested, and we are very happy about that, because it's very important to protect our reproductive health and our sexual health in general. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. And I hope that we can have more webinars in the future. We can discuss on other subjects and go in more detail if the students have got interest in it. But thank you very much for the invitation. It's been my pleasure to be here. And thank you to all the participants who stayed online for this presentation as well.
We will be happy to. And if anyone of the students would like to go back in this presentation and watch it again, or if you have any friends who would like to check it and get informed, we will have the presentation available on the website on the events mini site, so you can watch it anytime. Thank you, everyone, very much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you in advance, and please keep safe with the corona. Take care.
You too. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.